Hey everyone, I'm Ronan and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, I make a lot of build videos, mainly about Baldur's Gate 3. I will be branching off in other content once other games come out that I want to play. I'm a little disappointed that Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out in 2025, but hopefully with them having another year of development means the game will truly be the Monster Hunter game we all want. That being said, like and subscribe if you're new, because I will be covering other games. Dragon's Dogma 2 is going to be really great. I cannot wait to cover that once the game is actually released. I have live streams on Fridays, 11 a.m. EST, where I get to play the game live. Specifically, I started new in Honor Mode, and I can already tell you there are some incredible changes. The game is substantially more difficult, and it is a ton of fun. For example, on screen now, you can see a clip where I fought 2 owlbears. Oh my god, there's the other one. Sugar, I was not ready. So it got me thinking, with the increased difficulty and other things you have to worry about Honor Mode, what are some of my favorite build and gear combinations that I plan to use for Honor Mode, or just some of my favorite builds in general that you can try whether you're on Honor Mode, Tactician, or whatever difficulty. They are really fun. Let's go ahead and break them down. Before we start the countdown, can you guess what my number 1 is going to be? Comment down below and let me know. Alright, let's get started with number 5. Starting out at number 5, for those who want an overpowered archer from Act 1, you can utilize the items you see on screen now. How this works is whether you are a rogue, a ranger, a fighter, or the main cleric, it doesn't matter, you'll be able to utilize this. Normally bows scale with dexterity, right? Well, with this bow you see on screen, it will scale with dexterity, but it has the added modifier of doing additional damage equal to your strength modifier. If you equip the Club of Hill Giant Strength, which is a simple weapon so anyone can utilize it, it will set your base strength to 19, giving you a +4 modifier. So already if your dex is at 20, you have +5 chance to hit and damage. With this Hill Giant Strength Club, adding the extra strength, it's another +4 damage on top of that. Add the gloves you see here, anyone will now have proficiency with longbows, so anyone can utilize this weapon, and it will give you another +2 damage on top of that. If you want to make this even stronger though, add Sharpshooter for another +10 damage, and if you go College of Swords Bard, you can use a Flourish to attack the same enemy twice, doing some devastating damage in one round, even without extra attack. For those who want to see an endgame build about the College of Sword Bard Archer in combination with a Ranger, let me know. It's currently something I am working on in my live stream for Honor Mode, and it has been a ton of fun already. I will definitely make a full guide if you would like to see it. Alright guys, before we actually get to number 4, I do want to state there are some incredible changes for Honor Mode to make the game more difficult, and I'm sure some people will ask, how come I didn't include the combination of like Paladin Warlock, for example? Having extra attack from Warlock packed to the blade with Paladin stacking is really strong, right? Well, you can't actually do that in Honor Mode anymore. You can read here in the community website, link in the description down below. There are some changes that I think this never should have stacked in the first place, but for Honor Mode, it no longer stacks, and you can read there's a bunch of other things that are nerfed in Honor Mode. For example, like haste is definitely nerfed in Honor Mode when it comes to the way certain weapon types and extra damage that they did works, and all kinds of interactions that are nerfed in Honor Mode. There's a lot of things changed here, so some builds that you've seen on my channel may not be as strong for Honor Mode specifically. For example, the Paladin Warlock. That being said, there's still plenty of other strong combinations, but I figured I would put this in here in case someone did want to read what the actual Honor Mode changes are. And this does not include boss mechanics, but more so general mechanics in game overall. Coming in at number 4 is a really fun Barbarian build for those that like AoE damage and debuffing enemies, and that is going to be the Bleed debuffer. The way this works is essentially by using the Boots of Stormy Clamor. Whenever you apply a condition to the enemy, you will also afflict Reverberation. Reverberation is a great debuff that gives the enemies a -1 to their strength, dex, and constitution saving throws per turn remaining, and once they get 5 or more turns, it takes 1d4 thunder damage, and the enemy has to make a constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they fall prone. Sounds pretty good, right? Well, if you combo that with the Tiger Lust option for the subclass for the Barbarian, you actually have an AoE attack you can do every turn that will hit up to 3 enemies at once. The AoE attack itself is reduced damage since it does hit multiple enemies, but it applies bleeding to all the enemies you hit, therefore also applying reverberation every single turn to every enemy you hit as well. So right from the very start of the game, when you go to the Underdark, you can start to utilize this. However, once you get to Act 2 and you do unlock the Punk Drunk Bastard Great Club, you can make this build even stronger. The way this works is whenever you are drunk, you will have advantage on attack rolls, so your chance to hit will go up substantially since the game will take 2 dice and always take the higher dice roll. But you also create a blast with each attack, dealing AoE thunder damage within a 3 meter or 10 foot radius. Because you are also hitting multiple enemies at once, it means multiple blasts for a ton of AoE damage. You can make this even better once you get to Act 3 and really start to add some crit modifiers to it, or by simply using the Drake Throat Glaive ability to add even more weapon damage and another element to your weapon. The way I would utilize this build is by going 9 points into Barbarian in order to get the extra crit heavy stuff, and then going 3 points into Champion. I would utilize the potion you get from Act 2 to give me extra 2 strength. That way I only need to use 1 feat to get my strength to 20, and then the other feat can be used on Great Weapon Master to add even more damage. Add some crit stacking items to that as well, and you have a devastating debuffer AoE machine. One of my all-time favorite sneaky combos for those who want that stealth type gameplay is to simply by putting 5 points in the Gloomstalker, 5 points in the Thief, and 2 points in the Fighter to get one of the best dual wielding builds you can possibly have in game. With all the bonuses you have from Gloomstalker for more initiative, a free attack every start, the ability to go stealth while in combat, the extra bonus action from Thief, sneak attack damage, uncanny dodge, and of course the dual wielding fighting style and action surge from Fighter, you have a devastating combo. This doesn't really take off until Act 3 in my opinion, once you get everything that you need. However, you can start to utilize this in Act 2 as soon as you get extra attack and the extra bonus action from Thief. If you add some crit stacking things to this as well, you just have a crazy combination. If you want on-demand sneak attack damage, you could also use the Risky Ring to give yourself advantage at all times, really allowing you to pull in the damage. Number 2 on this list, I'm sure is no surprise to anyone that it does include the College of Swords Bard. It is one of the strongest subclasses in game, especially with how their flourishes work in combination with having high level spellcasting. I personally like going 10 points into Bard and 2 points into Paladin for this. This will give you some incredible high level Divine Smites, really doing just on demand burst damage whenever you need it. Combo that with melee flourishes, you can hit more than one target in a cleave and Divine Smite more than one target per turn. Really strong. But at level 10 Bard, you gain Magical Secrets. This allows you to learn 2 spells from any other class that will now scale with your Charisma. This is really strong. I personally like taking Spirit Guardians here. By taking Spirit Guardians, you have an AoE around you that will do radiant damage, and if you combine that with the radiant orb stacking mechanics in game, you can have a devastating debuffer that will also do incredible damage, great AoE damage, and depending on how you build your spells, you can also be very supportive all in one. It is such a great jack of all trades combination that I truly love. If you prefer to be dex based instead of going strength, you can also add in some ranged attacks and ranged flourishes as well. Can you guess what it is? I will give you a hint. I am currently playing it on my Honor Mode livestream. That's correct. If you guessed the Frost Mage, the Cryomancer, Ice Sorcerer, whatever you want to call it, this is my number 1, and it is absolutely broken in this game. I love it so much. Once you get it rolling, you will see some incredible damage throughout your playthroughs. The way this works is by going at least 6 points into Sorcerer, you will gain an option to do additional damage for your elemental type. So when you choose a subclass for your Draconic Bloodline, you have to choose Draconic Bloodline based on an element. For this build specifically, we're going to be focusing on cold, so I went with white in order to have extra cold damage with my dragon ancestry. You get your cool armor spell as well, but now at level 6, whenever you cast a cold spell, you can add your charisma modifier to the damage. Assuming you're at 20 charisma at this time, which you would have to use the hags here to get it, if not you'd have to wait till level 8 when you get your second feat, it's going to be plus 5 damage at all times to your cold spells. Well, what if I told you you could make your specific cantrip Ray of Frost hit even harder than some of your high rank spells? Yeah, it's crazy. So let's start with a weapon you'd want to use in Act 1. And that is going to be the Morning Frost Staff. Link in the description down below for both of my Frost Mage builds, end game and early game. It will tell you how to get all the items I talk about. But the Morning Frost Staff has a bunch of additional benefits that you want to utilize right away. Starting out, whenever you deal cold damage, you do an additional 1 cold damage. So at bare minimum, plus 6, assuming you have 20 charisma. It has the ability called Insidious Cold. Basically, whenever you deal cold damage with a spell, you have a chance to inflict a condition called Chilled on the enemy. Enemies that are chilled are vulnerable to cold damage and resistant to fire, meaning they take half damage from fire, but they take double damage from cold. This is a great way to make any enemy in game vulnerable to cold damage without using the wet status. Really strong. I love it so much, and you will just see this periodically be debuffed on enemies all the time. You also gain Ray of Frost as a cantrip. So if you did not already know Ray of Frost as a cantrip, by equipping the Morning Frost Staff, you automatically learn it. Now let's combo that with the Necklace of Elemental Augmentation. You get this inside the Githyanki Creche. You can actually get 2 of these. There is a second one you can find in Act 3, but for those who want to utilize this in Act 1, it is inside the Githyanki Creche. The way this works is whenever you deal a cantrip that deals acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder damage, you can add your spellcasting modifier to the damage dealt. As a sorcerer, your spellcasting modifier is charisma. So by being a cold sorcerer, you get plus 5 to all cold spells. Add this necklace, it's plus 5 to your Ray of Frost now, so another plus 10. But then you have your staff as well, which gives you another plus 1. So already you're doing an additional 11 damage to an enemy with your Ray of Frost. And if they happen to have vulnerability to cold, you can double it. But it gets even better. If you choose not to kill the tieflings and you follow the quest chain with the bard there to save all their friends from jail in Moonrise Towers, you can get a robe called the Potent Robe, which honestly is one of the best robes in the game. This is going to give you a bunch of benefits. It will give you plus 1 to your AC, so already extra AC, fantastic. At the beginning of the wearer's turn, you gain temporary HP equal to your charisma modifier, so free HP, never a bad thing, but your cantrips deal additional damage equal to your charisma modifier as well. So you can add another 5 damage on top of everything we already talked about, giving you plus 16 damage for your Ray of Frost cantrip, which is insane because if they are cold or have the cold vulnerability, it's even more damage on top of the damage the cantrip scales with as you level up. At level 10, it will do 3d10 on top of the 16. It does some incredible damage from that alone. I absolutely love this combination, but you can make it even stronger if you add some other things like encrusting frost from gloves or a hat. Really up to you. Necessarily don't need it, but it's another great way to add another debuff to the enemy and possibly freeze them as well. I love this combination. Definitely check out my videos down below because they really explain it so much more in this video. It's just super fun and I absolutely love it. And you can use this combination for fire if you want, for acid, whatever type of sorcerer you want to be, as long as you have a cantrip that is an element type, you can utilize all that extra damage to make that element even stronger. It's really, really strong, and I suggest you guys try it out. Before we end this video, I already mentioned it, but please like and subscribe because I do make content all the time. Usually videos on Saturdays, live streams on Fridays. I will be covering other games besides Baldur's Gate 3 in the future, but until those games come out like Dragon's Dogma 2, the new Monster Hunter, and some other things, I'm going to be sticking with Baldur's Gate.